Welcome, everybody. I'm Doris Livingstone. I'm the Homeschool Parent Support Lead with Action for Canada, and it's been my joy to learn how to serve the country here at helping parents understand and learn how to homeschool and answer questions and point people to their provincial leaders so they get support that way. But before we get going, I'm gonna introduce to you Tanya Gaw. She is our founder of Action for Canada, and she wants to just welcome you and share a little bit about what's going on with Action for Canada. Welcome, Tanya.
Hi, thank you, Doris, and welcome everyone. We're really happy that you've joined us here today. I know there's a lot of parents who are pulling their children out of the public education and private education system because we're living in an unprecedented time. And as far as our children are concerned, and the attack is focused on their little hearts and minds. And so we just really want to help facilitate and support as many parents as possible and help to direct you and point you, to individuals that can help you. Action for Canada is not creating homeschooling resources. We're not creating the wheel because there's already amazing homeschooling associations across the country that have been doing this for many, many years and very successfully. So we'll be introducing you to many of the leads of those organizations today. But first, I want to share my screen. And all right, again, for those of you who are new, this is what Action for Canada looks like nationwide. We've been on a mission for many, many years, even pre-COVID, trying to build the organization so that we could be in every town and community across the country, so that we could mobilize citizens, that we could get them together and organized and helping one another and having community. And one of our major objectives is to help parents, to assist them. And when we have each chapter, we have multiple different campaigns that go on within those chapters, such as reaching out to business owners, reaching out to churches, and of course, facilitating parents, trying to raise up, not trying to, we did it successfully. We got quite a number of our own people elected in the last election as school board trustees. So we want to raise up really good leaders within your communities as well, trusted people in positions that should be trusted positions as well, right, of authority, and especially when it comes to school board trustees and overseeing our kids. And so the parent program right now, that the campaign that we have throughout the month of September, and it will go beyond, is handing out our flyers, our SOGI 123 flyers. I'll be showing you those. Again, if you are new to Action for Canada, I'm just going to minimize the map. You would find this page under Join A4C chapters. When you click on that, you'll end up on this page. If you want to join a chapter or volunteer, you can do that right here. And then if you are wondering if there's a chapter in your province, all you have to do is click on your province and scroll down, and you'll be able to communicate directly with one of our chapter leaders. Okay, so I'm super excited about this. This is going to be sent out to our mass email list, hopefully by tomorrow morning. We have been working very hard at coordinating events for our youth. In the last year and a half, we have had 3 speaker and leadership programs for our youth to train them up to be godly, strong leaders of integrity, because they are our future. Our enemy knows that, and that's why they're in our school system trying to really mess with their minds. And so we're just taking a bit of a turn this fall from instructing the kids on how to be leaders and the speaker program, and we're moving towards countering what the world is teaching them about sexuality. And so we want to start teaching them about traditional values again, about abstinence, and how to go about doing that. And Phil Lease with Peace Education Services, he's in Ontario, he will be presenting the program with his team, and the program is called Heritage Keepers, and that is from the United States, amazing organization that again teaches on traditional biblical sexuality, abstinence, and they're the only one of 40 approved organizations teaching on sexual health, approved to teach sexual health in the United States. And they're the only ones teaching actually abstinence and what we would consider I think are good values for our kids so that they can make the right choices for themselves, and that they'll begin again to respect their own bodies and respect others. The other program that will be starting, by the way, on October 16th, Friday. It will run for 8 consecutive weeks, 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST. And it's just going to be amazing. So you'll be able to start registering for that and sharing that link very shortly, hopefully tomorrow. If you haven't joined Action for Canada and somehow you ended up with this link today and you're interested in receiving our information, please make sure you go to join and actually put your email in so that we can be in contact with you and sending you this information. Okay, so consecutively, as we're running the youth program, we're going to be running a 9-week parent webinar, but it'll be in a part 1 and part 2. So the first part will run October 3rd, every Tuesday, October 3rd to the 31st, all 5 Tuesdays in October. And then we're going to take a pause and we're going to do a 5-week marriage course from November to, I think it's the first week in December. And then in January, we're going to recommence the parent webinar, and that will be 4 more sessions. And so we're also changing the time of the parent webinar from the 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in a hopes to try to help as many parents as possible after work be able to attend. It's going to just be phenomenal. I think the youth program and the parent program complement each other because the parent program is going to be focused on helping parents talk to their kids about what's going on in the world and how to handle that and manage it, and about healthy sexuality. Okay, as I was mentioning, we have a program, a campaign that we've launched for the month of September and beyond, where we have a SOGI 123 or Win Sex Ed flyer. And this, in a nutshell, lets parents know outside the schools what's going on, what they're teaching their kids, and gives them the opportunity, one, to be informed, and hopefully more parents will pull their kids out. So when I was talking about the chapters and the campaigns that we're doing, we have parent groups literally going out with thousands of these flyers. It's called the Win Sex Ed in Ontario, SOGI in other provinces, but they're going outside of the schools and handing these flyers out to parents. And we are getting very positive feedback. So if you're homeschooling, that's amazing, but you may have nieces and nephews where, the parents can't pull them out, or it's a single mom. And we need all hands on deck with this, because what's happening in the schools, in the public schools, ended up folding over into the private schools. And of course, they're coming after the homeschoolers as well. And so we're trying to hit this at all levels, and we're not going to cease and desist until this whole thing is out of the education system. That's with a big period and exclamation mark behind it. This is a copy of the notice of liability that we have also been serving school educators, school board trustees, ministers of education. And as a result, we're having amazing success. I'll explain that in a minute. And also, to protect and uphold equal rights of all Canadians, there is a duty of state neutrality, which means that all public spaces must be neutral. So if anybody's trying to pressure anybody about having an LGBTQ symbol, there's Palestinian flags going up, there's different kinds of flags, but of course, the major one is the very political LGBTQ and trans flags. And there is 100% duty of state neutrality, which means all of our schools must be neutral. All of this propaganda in the hallways, the classrooms, the principal's office, school board superintendent's office, it has to come down. And so we're working, and we've had some great successes there. What is happening to our kids? I posted this yesterday, and I said, this is Justin Trudeau's new normal, and it is horrific. Can you hear that? Is the volume working? Yes? Okay. Okay, we are in a battle for the hearts and minds of our kids. And so we're going to talk about, in the parent course as well, how do we manage social media? because they're just not picking this up in the class. They're seeing it on TV and on social media. It would be awesome if we could just pull the plug completely on our kids having access to it. But this is an example of what Trudeau is pumping out of the public education system. And that's why we are encouraging parents to homeschool. I don't know how you can undo this in a reasonable amount of time. This is very serious behavior that's coming from these children. All right, and then just in closing here, this is Action for Canada in the news. This is not all of the articles on Action for Canada. We're being flooded with reports about the work that we're doing nationwide. Our team, we have over 100 chapters nationwide. We have thousands of volunteers, and they are so committed to turning this around and, like I say, protecting the hearts and minds of our kids. And we've had huge success in Saskatchewan. They were going to implement the SOGI resource in September. We found out about it in April. Our teams were working very hard in the background, and as a result, we were calling to have Planned Parenthood banned as well as SOGI 123, and we have succeeded at that. You'll see Manitoba as well. We have teams there working very hard. Ontario's made a decision to support parental rights. And of course, the good people in New Brunswick had begun that as far as undoing this. Anyways, we've still got lots of work ahead of us, but the dam is broken and it's floods. There's floods, the good kind of floods. We're going to be raising the right kind of rainbows in respect and just so thanks to God for the successes that we're having. And this is another success. A lot of people are saying that our notices of liability don't have effect and nothing will ever come of them. And so in other words, these individuals, I'm not sure, there we go. The school board trustees are just throwing the notice of liability aside like it has no effect, but it does. And this is evidence that legal liability is coming. So a mother who had no idea that they were transitioning her daughter has just won a legal action against the school district, and she was awarded a $100,000 settlement. And so yeah, if you're on the call today and you still have your children in school and you're so concerned, but you're just here to learn more, please be encouraged. We are working on your behalf. We're very serious about this because it's infecting all of society. And as we're all working together, I'm thankful, very, very thankful to all the homeschool leaders associations that are here today, because the work you are doing is incredibly vital. And so Doris, I'm going to hand that back over to you and just thank everybody. Please also share the link so that others can join this call today as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. I'm going to quickly share my screen here, how to find the homeschool site on Action for Canada's website. So I'm on the home page here, and I want to go to resources and scroll down here, and parent resources is one way to find us. You will find lots of good information there. There's the notice of liability for a variety of things. Some of those videos and interviews that we've done of the concerns. And then over here on the right, homeschooling resources. I love going here. It's my favorite thing. I'm a homeschooler through and through. But here's an association directory we made up. And if you scroll down first, you can see just different links we've got going on. There's Nova Scotia, Ontario, some more interviews we've done. At the top is the directory. So let's say you live in Manitoba. You want to go here and you will find the website and the email contact. And there's Alberta, BC is right here. Some of them actually have summaries to kind of zero in on how registration, enrollment, whatever the process is, and the laws in that province are in there as well. And then all the way down here, Saskatchewan on the bottom. I'm just going to go back to the resource page, and these are the parent webinars right below that other link. And we started these last spring, And you can register here to get all the, we have webinars the second and fourth Tuesday mornings of the month. And so this is ours today. And then anything that we've done in the past, there's Dorinda Wilson, the 4-hour school day. And then we did Israel Wayne, the history of homeschooling and the history of education. And then down here, Tanya Gaw gave, this is an excellent report. If you guys have a chance to listen to that and watch that, it's very, very thorough. And then, yeah, how to homeschool multiple ages. And then Peter Stock from HSLDA we had on there as well. So pretty exciting stuff there. Okay, I'm just going to get my panel in my screen here so I can see everybody. All right,
Doris, while you're doing that, I just want to make a correction. I apparently said October 16th that the youth program starts. It's Friday, October 6th. So I just want people to know that. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You bet. All right. We're going to move forward here now and introduce our homeschool association leaders by province. And so I'm just going to read them from my paper here. We've got Emily Ross from PEI. If you want to just put your hand up, they can see you. And Dan Vachon is from Nova Scotia. Rod Cumberland from New Brunswick. And did Miriam come in from Quebec yet? Not sure. Heather Zwart and her husband Jake from Ontario. Pamela Woosterman from Saskatchewan. And Lori Dunbar is in there to support her, and Andrea Verhoog from Alberta. And then I'll just talk quickly about BC when we get there. And so thank you, each of you, for being here and making time to talk to us about how homeschooling works in your province. We're going to start with Dan in Nova Scotia. Just give us a quick rundown of how it works to register or not. Some provinces you don't have to do a thing, some you have to do a lot. And tell us a little bit about that. If you homeschooled your kids and what that was like, and just encouragement to parents getting started.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doris. Well, the best thing about homeschooling in Nova Scotia is you would be doing it in God's country, right? So I've got all that experience. So my wife and I, we actually had 9 children and we homeschooled the majority of them. And it's super easy to homeschool here in Nova Scotia. The rules, so we started homeschooling back in 1996 and we homeschooled for 17 years. So I'm into the grandkids now. So things have certainly progressed with us. So I'm going to share my screen here really quick as well. And I just want to show you a couple things. So here in Nova Scotia, so for a number of years, as a matter of fact, I was I don't know the title was, the president or in charge of the Christian homeschooling groups here in Nova Scotia for 4 years. But we also worked very closely with the Nova Scotia Home Educators group as well. We had a really good relationship. So this website here, homeschoolingInNovaScotia.com, basically gives you all of the easies on how to get started here. So in a nutshell, it used to be that your children had to be 5 years old by October 1st, but now it's changed. If your child turns 5 by the end of December, you can start homeschooling that year. Now you can actually hold your child back for a year, and we did that with one of our oldest. Actually, she was really, really small, and we really didn't lose anything. So it says right on here that you should register your child by the 20th of September, although you can pull your child out of school at any time and start homeschooling. You simply have to inform the school that you're pulling your child out and go ahead and register them. And I'll show you that process in just a moment. The thing is, if you pull your child out by the September the 20th, the schools here, or the Department of Education, we don't have school boards here in Nova Scotia, although I just heard this week they're thinking of bringing that back. The Department of Education then would not get the funds for that. All right. So this particular website here would give you some of the websites to go to. The DOEECD website here If you click on that, would bring you to over here. Over here would be the homeschool registration form, which was updated this year. Up here would give you the legislation and the regulations, which I'll show you in just a moment here. But the pertinent information is here. You can call the Department of Education to register. You can mail the registration education forms to this address, or you can simply click on this online form here to register your child. Now, sometimes you run into the odd situation where, people have had children and they have not done this process here. They have not registered their live birth with their children. So, you may not have a birth certificate for your child. I did hear of some parents actually just this past week say, we don't even bother registering with the government. In that case, carry on, do your own thing. But if your child has been registered, you have a birth certificate, somebody comes knocking at your door, they'll want to make sure that you're actually homeschooling. So you'll want to go ahead and register. All right. Then it comes down to the student progress report forms. A couple things to do with this. The only requirement for an educational program in Nova Scotia is that there is basically that's the only requirement, is that you have an educational program, be it your own program, be it a program that they may supply online, be it a religious program. It's really up to you. And there is no restrictions on a choice of program. You have to submit a yearly report on the DOE website in June. And that's about it. And I'll show you what one of those reports looks like in just a moment here. There is a section here called Department of Education and Early Childhood Development, where it gives you a copy of the credits for Nova Scotia high school graduation diploma. So this is where you want to pay attention just a little bit, because when they say that you need to submit a yearly report form, it looks just like this. It's very lax and it's very simple. You put the title, the courses that you're doing, and this is basically how we did ours for elementary school. My wife decided to do it like this for high school as well. The problem is some of my children went on to higher education, and so they wanted to know, well, for example, for math and science, my wife had put pass. They were like, well, so in math, did a pass mean 50? Did your child get an 80, an 84, a 96? Or what did that mean? So looking back now, we would do this different for high school age. I would go ahead and put percentages, or put like an A plus, or B minus, or whatever, especially for the higher grades. Having said all that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. As you know, children learn differently. Your children in a couple hours at home will learn very differently from the school settings, especially if you're pulling your children out. If your children at home, you spend a couple of hours with them, and those of you, I'm very familiar with OCHEC and with NB, and I mean, we've had dealings with neighboring provinces. We would go to homeschool conferences. We would go to the ones in Maine. We would go to book fairs, and we would talk to parents. And oh my goodness, back in the day here, we used to go to the landfill, back when we used to be able to bring stuff out, okay? And we were there one day, and I had my truck, and one of my sons is like, Dad, why is there a big pile of lawn mowers there? I was like, I had no idea. We brought 9 push mowers home, and out of it, they got 3 of them working. The ones that they couldn't work, I mean, I see some of your smiles, right? I mean, they took all the wheels off. They built these little wagons, and they were carting. I mean, we had a farm then too, right? They were carting the goats around, okay? And then we're talking to somebody one day that fixes old radios and that. He's like, oh, you homeschool, right? He says, wait right here. And he came out with a box full of old radios. He said, take these home to your boys. And I had 6 boys, and they took them apart to see how they were. I mean, that's how our children learn to do stuff, right? If the grid went down for a month, all 9 of my children could go out in the woods and forage. They can all shoot guns. They can hunt. They can take dirty water and drink it. They can clean it. My kids could survive, right? Kids today, they can hardly spell. They can hardly read. And I bet you most of them can't even cook an egg. So by homeschooling, you'll be doing your children a favor. You'll be doing you a favor, because they can take care of you as well. right? So it's not just about registering, about filling in the dots and putting in the grades. You'll be teaching your children how to really live in life skills. All right, so it's exciting. One last thing I want to suggest to you too. People in the community may think, oh, you know, you don't really socialize your kids very well, right? Like, I mean, what do homeschool kids know? I had somebody give a suggestion one time, and I think they actually did it. They started with a little homeschool co-op. They started a community YouTube channel where their children will go around and find stuff out about their community. And they would do these little short videos that the children would do. And they'd say, well, this building was built in 18 something something by so-and-so, and you know, blah, 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 blah. And then they advertise their YouTube channel to the community, and the community folks are like, we never knew that about our community. And the children would do it. Well, these homeschoolers, kudos on them, right? And so the whole atmosphere about homeschooling in the community went up. So just simple things that, you know, you can put your minds together and make homeschooling really catch on, because there's other people that are not on this call that are thinking, what am I going to do about my children? And you are the influencers. All right. So go out there, influence. Homeschooling is the way to go. You've got a great job to do, but it'll be easier for you to do. So God bless y'all.
Thank you, Dan. That was a great story. I love it. We're going to ask Emily Ross now to speak from PEI and share a lot about how it works on your island. And I've been there. It's absolutely beautiful there. And so go ahead, Emily.
Thank you. So yes, my name's Emily Ross. Our family has been homeschooling. We're going into our 13th year. So I have a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 20-year-old. My daughter is in her second year at Holland College for graphic design and finished her first year, which they weren't even going to let her in the school. But I advocated for her, and she finished her first year with a 96.7% average. And within the first week had established herself as a leader and is well respected and has done just amazing. And she did a grade 13 with me. And so my son's going to do the same thing. So I have the other two home this year. So I have, when I first started homeschooling, there wasn't a Peachy. Well, there was, but it was dormant. So I didn't know of any other organization here. There were some meetings and such, but Facebook was a passionate pastime of mine, and I wanted to connect with other people. So I created a Home Educators of PEI group, which started from nothing, and pre-pandemic was around 200, and now is 436 members today. So we have doubled since the pandemic, and I moderate that group. And in 2017, the previous people who were leading Peachy, which stands for Prince Edward Island Christian Home Educators, decided that they really wanted to resurrect that and have something official under HSLDA that would be active here to promote homeschooling as a viable option, to protect the rights of homeschooling, and to provide support and information to families who are looking to homeschool, and of course, those who are on their journey. So myself and several other couples started that up. We are comprised presently as 4 couples that are Christians, but we are we basically service the entire community, trying to get information out, make sure that events are happening, give information, that sort of thing. But our actual membership is extremely small. We were last year 30, and this year we're 22. So we're keep trying to encourage people. I think the C in our name has, especially because a lot of secular people have joined homeschooling in the last couple of years. So we just keep trying to prove and to show to people that, you know, we're here to help everyone who's homeschooling, no matter your race, your religion, you know, your curriculum preferences or educational philosophy. We just want to unite and help one another move forward here in that. So what else can I say? There used to be some moth meetings here, managers of their home meetings that I helped with once a month. But again, as the pandemic went through, they've just fallen to the wayside, and it's been difficult to get people out. However, I personally organize a, we call it, I took over from somebody else who is a seasoned homeschooler that used to do this and has moved on to other things, but we call it the Not Back to School Picnic on the first day of public school. We all meet at Canoe Cove Beach and enjoy getting to know each other and give information about upcoming events. And we had like 150 people come out to that last week. So that was excellent. And the end of the year school picnic that I do is at the other area of the island. And we also have around that many people that will come out. So there are those events that people are drawn to try to socialize and connect. And on the island, like I said, there's the Home Educators of PEI group if you're wanting to get connected. There are a lot of small groups, but that's kind of the overarching group that, you know, will tell you what's going on everywhere else or what other groups to get connected with. So on the island, we're really thankful that we don't have a lot of oversight. You have to fill out, if you want to homeschool, an intent to homeschool form, which is quite simple. You're basically just acknowledging that you want to homeschool your children and that you recognize the responsibilities entailed in that you recognize that they won't be getting high school credits, that as long as you let them know by April 15th of the previous year, although we have had people do it many other times by just contacting a principal and not having any issues at all, but that you have the right to still enroll your child in, say, wood shop or any other course that you would like in the school system, even though they're not a full-time student. And what's the other thing? Oh, and that you can pay a $50 deposit to get the books or the curriculum from the school if you would like to do that. Now, something that they've changed this year, which has never been an issue before, is that you used to only be able to have one parent's signature for that intent to homeschool form. And all they do is send you a letter back saying, you know, thanks for your letter, basically. And this year they want 2 signatures, both parents, which has never been an issue before. So literally, I think Peter Stock just messaged me this morning because they had been looking into that a little bit, because we've had some parents on the island saying, like, I've been homeschooling for like 13 years. I've never had to have 2 signatures. Now they don't want to, like, you know, grant I mean, you're not even really asking for permission. You're just telling them what you're doing, but still they're not willing to acknowledge that or give the curriculum out unless you have both signatures. But what about in the case of, like, you know, custody battles, or where there's one parent that's just really not in the picture at all? So Peter was saying, you know, that's, I'm just going to look at his words here so that I don't mess up. Yeah, just basically that they're trying to protect themselves so that they don't get caught in the crossfires of a custody battle. And really just another indication of how HSLDA is important, you know, to have that protection for yourself and to advocate for your family to be able to do that and to get the resources that you have. Other than that, there's nothing else that you have to do. My encouragement for new homeschoolers is to recognize that this is going to require a lot of work on your part. Like, if you're going to take your children out of school, please do your best to advocate for your child and do your due diligence in educating your child, because, you know, we want to promote homeschooling as a viable option and as a good option. And so we need everyone to do a good job homeschooling their kids. And so that requires time and effort and research. And it's not something that I have learned over my years, that you can't compare yourself, or, you know, I could do the exact same curriculum as somebody else and it would look completely different. We have different personalities. We have different family dynamics. We have different styles. We have different learning abilities. So you really have to do what suits your family. And that is the beauty of homeschooling, that you have the freedom to be able to do what works for your family, how it works for your family. In my family, everyone's really rather creative. So my daughter being in the graphic design course, but like when she was 12 years old, she was selling her polymer clay jewelry on Etsy and at Bluefield High School fairs and all over the place. My son is 18 years old and he has been mentored by an international magicians group, and he does shows like he's a professional magician, like really good. He just had a call with someone who fooled Penn and Teller recently because she does restaurant magic for people who are waiting for their food. So he's doing that. And my 15-year-old loves cooking. So he went to culinary boot camp this summer and he won the award for Chef of the Week. And so I just love that homeschooling allows us to not put our children in specific boxes. It gives them so much space to explore who they are, what they like, and to cultivate their interests and to really learn and grow in those areas so that they can be the person that God designed them to be and what's going to bring them passion in their life, that they don't have to be a cookie cutter image of anybody else. So I could say a lot more, but I'm sure you would like other people to speak. So I'll stop there.
Wow, Emily, that is so great what you've shared, and your energy is contagious, and it makes homeschooling come alive. And yeah, I've got similar stories, not just with my kids, but people in my life. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for the work you're doing in PEI.
Thank you.
And so we're going to move on to New Brunswick with Rod Cumberland. And if Rod, after you sort of talk about, all the legal stuff and all those things, why don't you address what you shared with me in the email about Christians keeping the faith and all that at the end?
Sure. If I forget, just remind me.
For sure.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. My name is Rod Cumberland. I'm the president of HE&B right now. I spent 22 years as a wildlife biologist in the government of New Brunswick, and then the last 7 years as a teacher at a post-secondary institution in New Brunswick. So I will touch on a little bit about those that are concerned about what do your kids do when they enter post-secondary education. And I guess what I would say is, as an instructor at a college where all of our students have to have a high school diploma. So, and that's the big problem in New Brunswick, is if your kid is homeschooled, you don't have an official high school diploma. Jumping the bar is easy. Okay, all you people that are thinking of homeschooling, it is not tough to jump the public school system bar. I taught those students that came in, a lot of them can't read, they can't write, they can't do math. Jumping that bar is not tough. Okay, so I'll just leave that for now, and then I'll cover some of the questions that you wanted me to cover. So our website is henb.ca. Everything you need to know about starting homeschooling is there. We have a getting started page. You can just go through that. It has a forms that you apply to in New Brunswick that you fill out and send into the government. And we're similar to Nova Scotia and PEI, where you fill the form out and away you go. Our legislation could be very restrictive if they actually applied it and went down that road, but we're letting a sleeping dog lie. It's been like that for over 26 years in the province right now, and it's fairly easy to home educate in our province. Some people don't want to fill up the forms. The only thing I would say to that is, we had a son that wanted to get into the RCMP. He went through the process. When they found out he was home educated, they said, okay, well, where are your forms that you had signed by the government saying you could home educate? Became a little bit of an issue. Thankfully, I had a few contacts in government, was able to get because we didn't fill the forms out the last few years for whatever reason. So we had to go back and get the forms filled out. It became a little bit of an issue. We did get them signed, and he provided them to the RCMP. But nonetheless, it's not that onerous. They don't have a whole lot of hoops to jump through in New Brunswick. So fill the form out. Usually it's a rubber stamp process here. How to find a local support group. We also have a page on our website that has all the local support groups around the province. You can just link up with one of them very easily. Click on the links that we provide, and away you go. It's easy to stay connected through our website. We also have it depends on the year, but usually it's either a monthly or a bi-weekly newsletter that we give updates and what's going on within the organization and what's going on around the province. So there's lots there. some of the things you get to do, what I would say, some of the things you get to do if you home educate. And again, my wife and I were both educated in the public system. So, and I had a great time in the public system. I wanted our kids to go to the public system. And I was probably one of the biggest deterrents for my wife home educating. So any guys out there, if you give your wife a lot of resistance, you'll wind up being the leader of your provincial organization somewhere down the road. That's penance. But anyways, I'm really glad she stuck to her guns. Our kids, the biggest reason we did it was because I was coaching hockey and baseball in our community, and the difference between the home educated kids and the regular kids was unreal. Home educated kids could carry on a conversation with older people. They didn't have a problem looking after little kids if they were around. It was really noticeable that the kids in the public system could only seem to interact with kids their own age. And the other kids, the home educated kids, were really respectful. They had character. So that's really why I said, I'd like to try this. And we did. Some of the things we get to do, I was a wildlife biologist working with the natural resources. So my kids came with me. They were holding, bald eagles and owls that I was picking up on side the road. They came with me aging deer. They flew with me in the helicopter counting deer and moose. I mean, because they're home educated, when a chopper landed in our backyard to take me to work in the morning, then when it landed at night, the kids went up in the chopper. So you didn't get to do that kind of stuff if your kids were in the school system. So whenever I was a biologist, and we had annual meetings every year in the Northeast United States, so the Northeast Deer Meeting, the Northeast Fur Meeting, whatever I was a biologist of at the time, we would incorporate those trips for my professional work, and they became holidays. So we took the kids along. They were on the beaches of Cape Cod. They were doing Plymouth Rock. We did the Boston Trail. Every year we do something different with the kids. So it was like a holiday. I just had to pay for the extra little bit for the family. So they became learning opportunities, our holidays. We also had a farm that the kids they all had chores, and we didn't pay them, whatever it's called, your annual, they didn't do that. It was part of, if you're in our family, part of the job is you contribute. So, and I also had an axe handle business and a tree business that they helped me out with as well. So home education is not doing school at home. Put that out of your mind. It is a way of life, and you teach your kids what to do. And probably one of the biggest things that I would say, even above the reading, writing, arithmetic, is character development. That's what your goal should, from my perspective, that's your goal. You want to raise good people that can contribute to society and be strong people, especially the way this world is spinning out of control. So the last thing I would say that we talked about, Doris and I, is I'm in a few groups with other men. We'd spend a lot of time talking about our kids and how they're making out. And if anybody out there is of faith, or we have strong convictions about what you believe in, we spend a lot of time praying for other guys. Their kids went through the public school system, and most of them don't follow their faith. Thankfully, all 4 of our kids did. Again, glory to God for that. And I think the biggest difference is what a lot of guys in our groups have said. The biggest difference is you lose them once they get into that system and they start pounding that stuff at them, evolution and everything else. You'll lose them. You only have them for a few hours a day. The system has them for the rest of the time, and it doesn't take too much until that erodes and you lose the kind of character things you want to invest in your kids. So I would really encourage you to do that. I think. Yeah, the last thing I'd say is, what do you teach in high school? What we've done, because I was very involved with post-secondary, is look at where they want to go, what they want to do. We had one kid did not want to do high school biology. We tried pushing that rope for a few years and realized it wasn't working. We said, why fight? Hey, you don't want to do biology? No problem. Well, obviously he's not going to become a biologist. He has no interest in it. So he's actually a successful engineer technologist now, because, and he didn't need biology for anything. He did post-secondary. So you get the opportunity to be flexible in what your kids, teach them what they want, what they love to learn. So that's probably long enough for me.
Thank you, Rod. That was amazing. And how you talking about jumping the bar to get into post-secondary education, the same in BC, like there's so many ways to get in. My oldest just challenged the university to take her on, and they went, oh yeah, okay, sounds like you're a good kid, we'll take you. So there's those kind of things that you just have to sort of advocate for your kid and to get them in there. And there are lots of schools across the country that want homeschoolers. And so those are the other ones you can look for when you see the direction your child is going, is find those homeschooling friendly colleges and universities. I also wanted to just say, I won't have time in the chat to address any personal questions directed to me. So you can send an email to homeschooling@actionforcanada.ca and you'll get me directly, and then I will be happy to help you at another time. I just want to make sure we get through our panel here today. Okay, so the next province is Ontario. Is Quebec here yet? Did she sign in? I don't want to skip her, Miriam, if she's here. Okay, we'll move on then to Ontario. Heather Zwart and her husband Jake, and welcome. And tell us about your province. There's lots going on there as well.
Thank you very much, Doris. Just a quick rundown on the legal aspect first. Ontario law has compulsory education requirements, as do all provinces, I'm sure. And then there's a bunch of excuses of why you don't have to. The one that pertains to us is if you're providing satisfactory instruction at home or elsewhere. It's interesting that satisfactory instruction is nowhere defined, nor is it defined who determines what satisfactory instruction is. So as homeschoolers, we maintain it's the parents of the child that determines it. The Ministry of Education maintains it's the school board, but no court has actually ruled on it, so it's indeterminate. We also have policy, which in our case is PPM 131, and you can find all this on our website. But the policy, the government would like us to inform the school board that we're homeschooling. It's not mandatory, and if you're not doing it or you've got a child that's preschool, we sort of say, why bother? But the government would like us to inform them through PPM 131. And if we do that, they will send us another form back saying, based on filling out that form, we recognize that you are providing satisfactory instruction. If you're withdrawing your child from school, chances are that's the most polite way to go. Certainly if you've got special needs child or you want to use the government correspondence courses or virtual learning center courses, then you need to fill that form out. So there are certain cases where it's prudent to fill it out. Other cases, why bother?
The information requested on the form is basically the child's name, gender, and age, and the parent's signature, and that's it. It's not like they're asking the curriculum, etc. The problem we have here is some school boards and some organizations are telling our parents that they need to file that letter of intent, and the school boards, half of them, provide their own letter of intent for you to use, and it includes much more information. So it becomes invasive. So we like just to stay away from it.
So we encourage our members to use the government-approved form rather than the school board enhanced form.
Yeah, it's on our website, the actual approved form.
So in terms of finding a local support group, again, we recommend you go to our website, www.ochec.org, ochec.org. And there's a map on there, and we have the province divided into different areas. You click on the appropriate part of the map, it brings you to an area rep, and an email goes to the area rep as well as to some local support groups. And they will try to get that person connected to a local support group. Otherwise, you call the office here. and Heather fields a lot of calls. You wanted to say something else?
No, it actually doesn't connect you to the area rep. It connects you to a form that gets sent to the area rep. I'm a stickler for words. It's okay. But yeah, our area reps do a good job trying to either put you into a support group, getting connected to one, or taking the number of people who are in your area without a support group and helping you to connect to each other to form a new support group. So OCHEC doesn't run the support groups. OCHEC is just a provincial network. And we have a lot of support groups who are members of OCHEC, and they keep us connected, keep us networking.
Yeah, I was going to
So
say support groups are probably a very big part of homeschooling. And I know on your website, I've looked at all your regions. It's like Action for Canada. You know, we got people all over the country, and you've got people all over your province. So yeah. Go ahead, Jake.
One of the big things OCHEC does every year is run a provincial convention, usually the first weekend in May, where we try and bring everybody together. Normally held at Redeemer University in the outskirts of Hamilton here. And that's a really good time of encouragement, sharing, learning about what others are doing, and just realizing you're not alone, that it is a movement. There are many, many people doing it.
One of the sad things I've listened to this September is all these people who are going to start homeschooling, and they've just missed the convention. They didn't know about it. So I try to tell them, look, start homeschooling, but don't miss it next May, because that's where you're going to find your people group too, where you're going to find all the encouragement that you want to keep on going. So it's just hard to get the information out there.
So the top three things to stay focused on in homeschooling, I think previous speakers have said it well. It is a way of life. For us, with me having a sedentary job, being an engineer, but living rurally, one of the things we did was cut and split wood. With my work, I do consulting. So once they got to be old enough, I took them with me sometimes on the consulting trips, going into paper mills, taking measurements there, seeing what the work world really is like. High school, people get worried about high school. Can I really do it? And I know Heather, when we started homeschooling, high school was pretty concerned about that. But in actual fact, what it turns out to be is a lot more self-study. And just like the workplace, if our student, our child ran into a problem, they would take a look at what subject is it and who's available. So if it was English, without a doubt, they'd go to Heather. If it was math, that'd be who's available, because we're both pretty good at math. If it was physics, without a doubt, they'd come to me. But that's what the real work world is like too. You figure out what your issue is, who's available, and who's got the expertise.
So they would also go outside of our home, because there were certain parents or other homeschooling families that had a lot more expertise in theaters and music and arts and all kinds of things, and they were free to call those people too. It was great. It's a working together community in the homeschooling family.
And I think grade 12 chemistry, I think for every one of them, I ran into a problem that I said, I don't know the answer to that, but I used to work with a PhD chemist. I'll ask him. And so there again, you see how expertise beyond the family comes in. Other things you get to do, in our case, yeah. In our case, when we started a home building project, and it really was a family project, all of our children were involved.
There's
And
the Raptors.
two of our children's careers were greatly affected by that. One of them decided to become a carpenter, and went through a carpentry apprenticeship. And one of the guys he was working with at the time said, if you can become an engineer, you really should do that. When you get to be my age, you'll have sore elbows. He said, I'm already feeling my elbows. So he went on and now is a civil engineer. And then the youngest one said, I don't think advanced education is for me. And he now has his own timber framing business. So they all find their niche. All four of our children, as Rod mentioned for his family, are following the Lord. So if you look at the homeschooling research, I think 95% of the children growing up maintain the faith of their parents. One bit of research I'd like to point people at is if you look up the initials NHERI and then space Gen 2, GEN2, the Generation 2 survey, you'll find a PDF. NHERI is National Home Education Research Institute. But this is a survey on 18 to 38-year-olds that grew up in the church. So they were church growing up. And down on page 12 and 13 of the PDF, it shows what factors in their childhood correlated to positive outcomes. And the two most positive correlations are relationship with father and relationship with mother, equally positive. Homeschooling was really high up. Public schooling was the most negatively correlated. Private schooling was almost as negatively correlated. So I'm thinking, God invented the family with different ages. Man invented school where all ages, all grade twos are with all 8 grade twos. So this age segregated environment sort of naturally leads to a bully being at the top, whereas the family naturally leads to loving parents being at the top, being the respected ones. So that dependency on parents versus peer dependency, I'm suspecting is the big difference there. The other really positive thing Ontario has done, or at least this part of Ontario, one of our children and a fellow homeschooler started what's called Canadian Bible quizzing. And the children, a lot of homeschooled youth and others as well, memorize portions of scripture. And then there's 4 meets a year. They sit on jump seats and answer a bunch of questions. So this is memorization intensive, memorizing the Bible. And it gives you a social and reason to memorize a word where you can show your proficiency. So it gives you milestones. So that's been really effective for many people.
The provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan also have Bible quizzing and different things. What our group over here found in Ontario is the requirement to be a member of a specific denomination or a church to participate in it. So our son and the other quizzer said it's just open to homeschoolers and non-homeschoolers, and that allowed more of the homeschoolers to participate. And it's been a great education for those leaders in learning how organizations get going.
So to summarize, I think, would we do it again? And we're now grandparents and have graduated all our children. But absolutely, I like telling new homeschool parents, it certainly is work. But as Rod said, even if you think you're a failure, you won't fail as spectacularly as the school system. But the earthly rewards of family unity more than make up for the effort you put into homeschooling. And that doesn't even count the heavenly rewards of children remaining faithful to God.
I think some of the things that we'd like to advise or share with families who are considering homeschooling, considering taking their kids out of public school now, is to allow a transition time. Don't jump in and expect to recreate school at home, because that's not what this is. It's, as Rod said, it's a lifestyle, and your children may object to this change in their lifestyle. They'll need some time to transition. Don't be surprised if there's going to be some difficult times. So try and get connected to some local homeschool families, maybe just 2 or 3, maybe a support group, because they'll help you get over those hard days. You'll be an encouragement to the support group too, but they will be a huge importance in your life and for your children as they get to know other kids. So try to do a little bit of that socializing and try not to just say, well, this is the way it's going to be. Make the transition with your children, not without them. You don't want to leave them behind. Give them time to adjust. We used to say, if they've been in school for a year, give them a month to adjust. They've been in for 8 years, give them 8 months. There can be a lag. The curriculum is not what's important, it's the character that's really, really important. They will keep learning. It's really hard to stop a child from learning. You put things in front of them and they'll keep on learning. I think that was one of the things I wanted to add. There was a lady here today, and there's a family here homeschooling with us today. They're making applesauce because the tree is loaded. That's homeschooling. That's a life skill. They're learning it. I happen to know how to do applesauce, and they've come to learn. They've had to leave because we're on here. I said, we should have just held this in our kitchen so that all the rest of you out there who haven't homeschooled can see that this is homeschooling. We're just working together and learning together. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. My 4 sons treat me like a queen, and your kids can too.
Same. I agree with you. Wonderful. I love what you had to say. Man, you guys could be speakers all the time. Jake, could you also just repeat that study from the National Research Institute so we can get it in our chat here, that PDF, how to find it?
Sorry, type it in the chat.
Yeah, it's NHERI are the initials of National Home Education Research Institute, Brian Ray, and then the Gen 2 study. So Gen as in generation, and then the digit 2.
Okay, now I can't quite hear the details so very clearly. I don't know if anybody else, but if you could type it in the chat, that would be helpful too.
We will do that.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, and we're just gonna now introduce Saskatchewan with Pamela Wusterman and all the exciting things in the homeschool world of that beautiful province. Go ahead, Pamela.
Hi, so I'm from East Central Saskatchewan. I have 4 children that my husband and I homeschool and range from high school down to preschool at this point. So we're kind of running the gamut. I'd say Saskatchewan is pretty easy to homeschool in. We do have some regulations that other provinces don't, but if you just keep it simple, you're pretty good. So in Saskatchewan, you can give 30-day notice at any point, any time in the school year to become, to start homeschooling. You give your notice. I'm not sure if it's really an issue that you'd have to wait the 30 days. There's rules and then there's what actually happens. However, and then annually we report once a year, August 15th is our deadline. And what that includes is just a simple letter of intent, which is like a form from the province that requires your demographics, so like the kids' names, and you signing off stating that you are home educating. Then you submit to your local division a written education plan, and that is 3 goals for your 4 core subjects, which is math, science, English, and social. They're very basic, broad annual goals, we call them. Really simple, really broad. You're not talking about curriculum. You're not talking about details or specifics of what you're doing. They're just kind of like overarching goals for the year. So like, for example, in language arts, maybe one of your goals is just to work on comprehension. Like, it's pretty simple. Science could be you're going to study biology. You don't have to say what or when or how or anything. That's it. And then at the end of the year, you just report back stating that you actually met those goals. If you didn't, what you did instead or why. Generally, if you make your goals broad, no matter what you did, you've met them. So like, for example, on the one with comprehension, reporting back would be a sentence stating improved comprehension through reading literature. Done. And also there's what's called like a monthly log where you would just write a few activities. Mine always consists of like 2 to 3 sentences at the very most, saying maybe in September, we started on working on our goals. Maybe we went to a museum. And maybe in February, I might write something, but each month you just write very, very basic. It seems daunting. So anyone in Saskatchewan, when you start, a lot of people do kind of feel a little overwhelmed, but it is actually very basic. It should take no longer than 30 minutes to sit down and get it done and submit it. So if you're taking longer than that, you need to reach out to Shibi because I think you're overthinking it, and we can kind of help boil it down to something more basic. So talking about Shibi, I'm the president for Shibi, which stands for the Saskatchewan Home-Based Educators. We're the provincial voice for homeschoolers. We advocate on behalf of homeschoolers to the government. We try to step in and assist homeschoolers when they're struggling with issues with the divisions. We support homeschoolers in any way we can, which is we have our own forms that you'll find on our website, like templates for that written education plan. It's absolutely the bare basics that's required. It doesn't include any extras, and it meets all legal requirements. We worked with HSLDA to come up with it. And if you fill those out, you're in compliance with the law and you are not required to submit anything else. Now in Saskatchewan, we are one of the few provinces that the divisions have the right to choose to give some money if they want. This can vary anywhere from $0 with a division all the way up to $1,000 with some other divisions. You can't pick and choose your division. It's just geographically where you're located. It's weird, it's random, and it's unfortunate. But with the money, of course, always comes more reporting. So some of the divisions that grant money do require, if you want the money, you've done your provincial stuff, you're good to go. But if you want access to the money, you might have to provide receipts. You might have to provide more information. You may have to report more details. So that's something that you do need to consider when government funding gets involved. There are always strings. So I recommend anyone from Saskatchewan interested to go to shbe.ca. That's shbe.ca. We have tons of resources on our website, including the kind of a step-by-step how to register. All of Saskatchewan, there's a representative from Shibi that you can contact if you have any questions that's local to your area. And it also, we have a yearly convention that we hold in February. So if you're thinking about it or you've just started and you want to get kind of plugged into your local community and you may be struggling that way, come to the convention in February. It's being held in Regina, and you can meet all sorts of other homeschoolers from the area, from around the province, who you can connect with and know that you're not alone, that there's people who have kind of understand where you're coming from, why you're doing things, and then make connections from there. There is a Saskatchewan Home Facebook group that you can join. I think it's called I Homeschool Saskatchewan. And then locally, there's tons of little groups that you can find within that group. Say, I'm from here. And often you can be like, are there any groups in my area? And so Facebook is a very good source in that way. The biggest, one of the questions was something about 3 reasons why, or something about homeschooling. But I'd say the biggest thing for you to know when you're homeschooling is just know your why. Why are you homeschooling? What drives you to homeschool rather than putting your kid in school? So, because when you're going through periods of time when things are a struggle, you're pulling your hair out, your kids aren't listening, things are just not going well, you can always go back to the why it was important. And that's going to be what gets you through. So for example, our family, we're a Christian family. We center our homeschooling around God, and then we focus on our family. So we've gone through periods of months where the kids have not even touched a school book. We've just done whatever, whether it's sleeping in or going to social events with other homeschool families and focusing on that, or just kind of done hands-on activities. We live on a farm. And then there's periods where we do lots of book work. So some of it may have happened because we had a kid struggling, or some of it may have just happened because we had the opportunity to do something, but we always know our why. And so we can always go back to that and say, are we going the right direction? Are we making good sound choices, even though things aren't the easiest? Because homeschooling, as wonderful and as beautiful as it is, we have an amazing relationship with our children. I would never give that up for anything. My children are very family focused and orientated, and they're very community minded because we raised them that way. So I would never send them back to the public system, but I can always, in the harder times, look back at my why and say, okay, this is a hard day. I'm struggling. This is what we're going to do. Does it fit with my why? And if it does, then I know just push through one step at a time and things will get better, because they always do. Because homeschooling is about family ultimately. You don't do it because you don't like your family. You do it because you love your family.
Yes, thank you, Pamela. That the whole why thing is really important. And for some people, they may even have to write it down and put it on the fridge or in the bathroom mirror and say, you know, it's been a rough week, but this is why I'm still doing what I'm doing. And I had lots of days like that myself, especially as you move into the end of spring and the days are warmer, and you know, you've got these long-term goals and you're this close and you're almost losing your mind, but then you realize it's okay if we finish it now, we only need another week, or it's okay to roll it into the next year. And I also loved how you said, you know, if there's a child that isn't sort of keeping up with the curriculum at the time or not ready. I had a child like that. I just put that subject away for 3 months. And then I brought it back and I went, is she ready now? And I think probably after 6 months, she was ready. And then we went into it. So that's the nice thing about homeschooling, especially if you've got the long-term plan in mind, is if you don't get it all done because you love to check the boxes and it makes you feel good as a parent that we successfully finished a school year, sometimes you got to go easier on yourself as a parent too, and going, well, we got this far, so we have success. And sometimes if you want to document, sometimes it helps you if you document the success of each child, so you can say, wow, we did come this far, but we're going to take a break and we're going to roll that into the next year. And that's the nice thing about when you have years to accomplish your goals. It's not like we got to get this done this week, we got to get it done today because the curriculum says so. Like, you want to always lean back and then just be in the moment, enjoy what's going on. And juggling all that, we all got to figure it out. Took me a few years to figure it out, but so worth the learning. Thank you again, Pamela. We're going to move on now to Alberta. Andrea Verhoek, thank you for coming in and telling us about Alberta. You got to unmute yourself.
Okay, got that.
Okay.
I'll probably share my screen if that's possible as I talk through things. As we talked about, where's my share screen? Good, thank you. So as other provinces have said, with funding comes a lot more, government involvement. Alberta has funding. You can get $900 a year per child. And with that, you must notify the government of your intent to homeschool. 2 years ago, we got what we called notification only, no funding, which means I don't take the funding. I just notify the government. I fill out a form. I don't need to send a program plan. I don't need any intervention by the government. That is it. If you want the funding, you have to go and sign up with an associate board, which means that you'll go find a board. If you go on our website under home education, you can go associate boards or private schools. and they provide, there's a list of them, and you need to register or notify with one of them, and they will take you on. And with that, you have an assigned teacher that will come and do 2 visits with you. So as you get money, the more restrictions, the more things that come. If you want to do get the funding, you need to be registered or notified with the board by September 29th, because that is the cutoff. That's when the government calculates or determines which school the student is registered with and where the funding will go. After that time, the funding is no longer available to you as a home educator, but you can still do notification only, and you can take your children out and start homeschooling at any time. Yeah, the regulations, I look at other provinces and the regulations in Alberta are a little bit daunting sometimes, but once you get to understand what, how to go through it, it makes it a lot easier. On our website, there's all sorts of information. We have new to home education. We have 2 booklets that we've put up, the ABCs of AHIA, which kind of just gives the history of AHIA, and then we've got the now I'm trying to think. The other one is the ABCs of home education, and it just talks about all the new terms, the things that you're going to find. And if you get the download, the PDF file, it has all the hot links to go. So if there's a form that you need to fill out to do notification only, you press the link and it will bring you to the government page to find those resources. So I would suggest, if you're starting in Alberta and you find that it's sounding daunting, go on our website, look at the information, and then if you have more questions, then call us. We're also willing, if there's a group of new homeschoolers in an area that would like us to come and lead you and help you and talk about this at a group, we're willing to come across the province to come and do that. On our website, we have yeah, a lot of information. We have an area where our support groups, like other provincials, people have said, get connected to local support groups. We don't manage them. We just put the information of who they are, where you can find them. We've also have special needs. The government, again, with money, has decided to put some money in special needs for the homeschoolers so they can tap for some resources. I'm not sure it's quite what maybe the parents were looking for special needs. I think they were looking more for getting funding and to be able to reach out and get speech therapy and some of those things. I'm not sure if that's exactly what they're getting, but there are some resources available there. Yeah, we do a convention. Ours is in May 30th, June 1st. I think we had over 1,000 people come last year, which was really good after not having one for 2 years because of COVID. At our convention, we have good speakers, a good time to connect and to realize that you're not alone. Just the new homeschoolers, you're not alone. In Alberta, there's over 19,000 homeschooling children across. So that means it's large, but across Canada, you're not alone either. Just realize that you're connected, trying to find a good support group to stay connected. Maybe I'll just close my screen now. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. The funding available, it's $900 per student per year for grade 1 to grade 12, $450 if you're doing kindergarten, because it's half of that. But like I said, a lot of strings attached. Your facilitator, you'll have to give them a program plan of what you're planning on doing. That's your first visit. The second visit will come and say, how did you do? You're allowed to change your program plan anytime during the year. You don't have to stick to it. You just let your facilitators, how we call them, know that you changed something, or at the end of the year when you did, you just say, hey, this wasn't working and we changed that and this is what we did instead. If you have, the facilitators are credited teachers, we suggest that you ask the facilitator, are you a homeschooler? Have you homeschooled your own kids? Because that's important, because if they don't, or if they weren't homeschooled, they may not even understand what homeschooling is. You don't need to sign with your local school board. So if I live in Edmonton, I don't need to sign with a school board in Edmonton. I can, if I'm a Christian, I can pick one out in Calgary if I want. The facilitators will come and meet you at your home or at, everyone think that they have to come into your home. I try to tell parents, no, they don't. I've had some come in my home if I wanted to, but you can meet at the library, you can meet somewhere else. So don't feel that they need to come. It's intrusive enough. They don't need to come into your home to evaluate. Yeah, there's, as a HIA, we try to advocate the government. We have 3 meetings with the Minister of Education a year. We talk to them, we try to change things, get things. We finally, like I said, got notification only, no funding. So there's no funding, but the only thing you do is fill out a form. There's no program plan. You don't need to submit anything more than just your form saying that you're notifying that you're home educating. We put out an arrow every 2-3 months, just with usually an article from to support, to encourage homeschoolers, why you're doing things, how to do it. Also, if there's any updates on government information that they need to know, we'll put that in our arrow. What else can I think that's probably about all I'll talk about the legal parts. But the three things: find a good support group in your local area, like a lot of people have said, a couple of families that will support you for those hard times. Like Pamela said, know why you homeschool, have it written just so that you can go back in those hard days. What was our goal for homeschooling? Why did I pull them out? And if I pulled them out for a specific reason, have those things changed in the school where I would want to put them back? Or is it character? Are we trying to build character? Okay, well, if we're struggling with math and having temper tantrums over math, maybe we need to talk about character instead of doing the math. But, you know, just have your goals of homeschooling so that you can go back during those really, really hard times. One thing maybe to what I found with starting to homeschool, we pulled our children, our 2 older ones, when they were finished grade 4 and grade 6. And my second daughter, we are very similar in character, so we a lot of times have our struggles because we're too much alike. And I found that those struggles didn't go away when we started homeschooling, but we had all day to deal with them. Instead of when they came home from school, you're running, you're trying to do extracurricular activities, you're trying to prepare supper, you're trying to do homework. She's tired, I'm tired. And those battles, you only have the kids for about 3 hours before they're in bed, or 4, and then you're having these battles during those times. During the day, if you have the battle at 10, or you try to build and correct attitudes, then the rest of the day is a glorious day. It's a day that you can redeem and spend good time together. I just saw, for those that are starting, we talked about time. It said that if your kids go to school for 12 years, they'll spend 16,380 hours away from you. And if you take it per year, it's about 1,365 hours a year that you gain again. And you get to influence who will impact your children during this time. You get to decide which stuff comes into your home instead of letting other people during those thousands of hours. You can decide who's gonna teach them, which curriculum comes in, which influence you allow into your home, where at the school you have no control over those things. I think that's probably, yeah. And if you have questions, our office, please call at our office at ahiaonline.com. Go check it out. We have an administrator that answers telephones and redirects the calls where need to be. Like I said, Alberta sounds pretty convoluted compared to other provinces with the funding, but a lot of people like the funding. A lot of people like to have a facilitator to guide them. For some of us, that's why we pushed for so long to get notification only, because we go, yeah, the funding's great, but man, is it nice to just do what I need and not have to have the government inside my homeschool.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm going to talk about BC, and it's very similar to what Alberta has. I think Alberta started the whole funding thing in Canada, and then BC started to follow that. So the way it works in BC, anyways, it's BC HEA, so that's British Columbia Home Educator Association would be the website. And by the way, all the websites are on Action for Canada's homeschooling link. So we've been posting that in the chat. If you can't keep up with how to find your province's contact information, it is on our website. So yeah, in BC, back in the day when I started in I think it was 95, there was only traditional homeschooling. And so the parents came up with their own curriculum, and curriculum conventions and curriculum fairs were just getting started. And man, they were my highlight of the year. I'd go every year and find out about everything curriculum and meet other homeschool parents and listen to amazing speakers who motivated me and see the big picture. So that's a little plug for conventions. I highly recommend you get to them. And there was the only thing you had to do, and it's still true, if you still want to just do traditional homeschooling where you have no accountability to the government, but they don't give you money either. All you have to do is register at any school in the province. So we chose schools that were friendly to homeschoolers. And there was a big one in Surrey at the time. And they pretty much ran almost an online program, not to teach, but to offer support. And then today they also have the funding option as well. They had a Christian school, also a brick and mortar school outside. And then over time, I want to say when my oldest might have been starting, or maybe the end of elementary school for her. When was that? In the 2000s, late 90s, 2000s, then the whole funding opportunity came up for parents. And that's the second option in BC, where you enroll. And when you enroll, you can still use your own curriculum. And all you have to do is submit the learning outcomes to a facilitator at the end of the school year. You can actually mix and match. You can do a little bit of both. Or you can do 100% with an online teacher. Now, in a traditional sense, that's not really homeschooling anymore. That's school at home, because you're using sort of a provincial program. But a lot of people think they're homeschooling just because their kids are at home. But in the eyes of the law in BC, homeschooling really is that traditional homeschooler with no money. But there's thousands of kids who are also, again, like Alberta, who are home and they're learning at home. And so registration and enrollment, that makes them different. Registration, there's no money. All you have to do is let them know. You don't even have to tell them you're going to homeschool. You're just going to say, my child will not be in your school next year. You have till September 30th to let them know, and you can pull your child at any time. If you decide in December, we're taking our kid out of school, whether it's private or Christian or a public school, then you just notify them, and you don't even have to tell them you're homeschooling, but you just need to be registered somewhere else then. And which one are you going to choose? So on the BC link on our website, you'll see quite a list of different schools that are very friendly to home education. And those are the ones I would encourage people in BC to link up with and connect. I made some notes here so I wouldn't forget. Oh yeah, 6 years old is the when you have to register, up to 17. So notice it's not 5, so it's not kindergarten, and it may not even be necessarily if you're 18. So 6 to 17 is when you legally have to register somewhere in the province. I just wanted to share a little story about how we created a co-op. I was on the west side of Vancouver Island, as far as west as opposite ocean. And we created our own co-ops. We created our own grad for our kids. Like we had no big city things to do. We created our own Friday swimming. We rented the pool in a town that was an hour and a half away. We created our own gymnastics program, our own skating programs. And one of the fun things we did was we had a contract with the RCMP to wash their police cars on Wednesday afternoon. And so instead of the police paying, you know, a cleaner to come in, or if they go through the car wash or whatever, which we didn't even have, so they probably had to wash their own cars. I don't know, but they had funding set aside for that. And so that was a way for our kids to pocket some money. And it was so successful. We did it for years, and we built a relationship with these families and with these RCMP members. And and the kids learned how to clean, like they know how to clean a car. And of course, us parents had to be in there showing them how to clean. And so it was a very family directed, very social amongst the kids, amongst each other. And so there's so many creative ways to get our kids to be together and socialize. You can run these co-ops where different parents take turns teaching a subject. And like the Zwarts were talking about, you know, you can hire a tutor to cover a subject, or somebody who's really good at something to help your child develop in a passion that they're really good at. And so these websites that we've given you, I've gone through all of them, and they're loaded with how-to and speakers and finding your support groups, convention dates, curriculum fairs, used book sales. There's all kinds of things, and you could even check each other's out to get ideas too, or go to each other's conventions if you want to do that. So anyways, I just want to thank our panel for being here and giving us your time today. I want to thank all of you for signing in, and I hope you leave here encouraged. And we're excited. I just want to put a little announcement in for 2 weeks from now on September 26th. Our next webinar will be with Phil Lees, who is going to give us an overview on the parent program and the youth program that Tanya had talked about prior at the beginning. So that would be at 10 a.m. PST on Tuesday, September 26th. And Tanya, did you have any final comments?
I just want to thank everybody. I'm sitting here feeling so encouraged, and we'll have this video on the parent webinar within the next couple of days. I say tomorrow, but it might take a couple of days. And then we're going to ask you to share it as far and wide as you can, because there are so many parents that are sitting there thinking, I don't think I can do this. But you have given us such encouragement, and I love the value of it, where you're talking about the commitment within your family to your kids. And it does come with some sacrifice. There will be a bit of a life change for you, but you know, you have also mentioned that we each have gifts and strengths, and that is why it's also important to be involved in your community, because there's others in your community with strengths and gifts that you don't have, and to share those gifts and talents. And this is doable, and I think that we're at a critical time, you know, for the hearts and minds of our children. And these wonderful associations, homeschool associations, are giving their all to support you. So please reach out to them, share this information. And again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tanya. I see a comment in my chat here. Andrew wanted to say one more thing. And before you do, Lori Dunbar, if you're still around, I didn't know if you want to add something after Andrea, let me know, but go ahead, Andrea.
You talked, just to clarify something, in Alberta, the funding is not for doing school online. The funding is for if you're doing traditional, which is different than BC. So if you're doing traditional and the parent is leading the education, you would get the funding. So it's not for online. Online, there is no funding available because it's all done. You sign up with the school, you get the teacher, you go online. So if you're doing traditional, that's where you would get that 900. So that was just one of the difference that I wanted to say and to add. That's different from BC. So the funding is for doing traditional homeschooling. You pick your curriculum. You can do either the Alberta curriculum, or you can do an outcome, what they need to have accomplished by grade 12. And there's a form for that on my on our website too. So sorry, I just kind of.
No, I'm glad Yeah, no, that's a big distinction, and I'm really glad you clarified that. I bet that is going over quite well.
Yeah, it is. So
Yeah.
you know, you do have to submit receipts, you do have to, but it is to do traditional, and you get your money back after
Okay.
you submitted 75% of your funding, you get the 100% back. So just kind of, it's there to help out, but there are more requirements. You have to put, you know, receipts, you have to have facilitators come and do 2 visits and things like that. So, and a program plan where notification only, you just notify them.
Right. And, you know, I mean, if this all sounds overwhelming for those who are just getting started, your homeschool association leader will help you walk through those steps. And it's not meant to be overwhelming. I've noticed almost everybody has said it's actually very easy to homeschool in Canada. And I'm thankful for all the pioneering work that was done 25, 30 years ago in HSLDA protecting our laws. Okay, go ahead, Lori. Do you have any final words you want to add? Oh, you're still on mute.
Oh, there we go. No,
There you are.
it's been really good. I just wanted to encourage everybody that education is discipleship. It's indoctrination is when you don't allow any kind of questions. But we educate, we disciple our kids. And I've had 2 kids that went through the school system and 2 kids that I've homeschooled all the way through. And it honestly is incomparable. It's a wonderful opportunity to do this. And I just started kind of going, I'll just do it for a couple of years. And 14 years later, I'm so thankful that I've invested in our family. We've had some sacrifices that we've made because we're a single income family, but it's so worthwhile. So just wanted to encourage everybody with that education is discipleship, and you get this amazing opportunity, and just don't waste it. Just take advantage of it and make the sacrifices, make it work. It's worth it.
Amen. What a great note to end on. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And we're going to say goodbye here and see you in 2 weeks.